what am I going to do in my 20s so that when I'm in my 30s, I'm not at a job that I hate. But I was just spreading myself out way too thin. I had a full-time job. I had basically a full-time other business, and I was trying to crank out YouTube videos. I turned down business offers pretty much every single day. I wanted to be somewhat wealthy, if I'm being honest here. And I think it's something in our society, it's kind of taboo to talk about. That's why I'm kind of stepping on eggshells here. But I don't think it's wrong, to want to be wealthy and be well off and be able to make my own decisions whenever I want.
Problems are what? Problems are profits! Welcome to the Problems and Profits podcast with your host, Matt McKeever and Rebecca Matheson. And today we've got a special guest, Griffin Milks. And I'm really excited to have Griffin on the channel. But before we jump into this interview with Griffin, I want to explain to you guys what Problems and Profits means. So Problems and Profits in my mind it's a life philosophy. So it's really about just understanding that, life's to choose your own adventure. You get to not only choose what you do, but you also get to choose how you interpret what happens to you. And so I think it's more important than ever in these times of uncertainty to understand that you can still be in the driver's seat, you're still in control, and you can decide whether something's a problem or a profit opportunity. And so, yeah, Griffin, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on the podcast, and having a nice day. And hopefully we'll have a great convo here, share some knowledge and talk about some interesting topics.
Absolutely. Yeah, Griffin, really appreciate you coming on, and we'll always get started with some warm-up questions here for you. So just to kick things off, first question is, what is the most expensive thing that you've ever broken?
Oh, that I've ever broken? Geez, I honestly am not, probably a car, if I'm being honest here, probably a car that I've had. I don't really break. I break a lot of things, but they're like little items. My mom would tell me I break everything. I fidget a lot, so I'm always breaking stuff. But yeah, I would say a car is probably the largest thing I've broken.
Awesome.
That's a funny question. I wasn't
yeah, the key is to catch you off guard there, get you outside of your normal pattern loops, right? Podcast, it can be really easy just to have the same answer to every question.
Yeah, totally.
So warm-up question number 2 here. $1 million in 24 hours. What would you do with it? And you use it or you lose it if you don't use it?
Okay, so obviously I'm using it. That's for sure. Honestly, I would probably buy a big piece of real estate cash in my region is probably what I would do. I know a lot of people right now in the markets would probably put it in some crypto project or something. But honestly, for me, over the past 2 years, I've just had such success with property that I've been investing in that I have a pretty good formula here. I'd probably break it up into probably a couple different properties in Gatineau, and yeah, that's how I'd invest it.
Awesome. Really appreciate that. Gatineau seems to be a place where I'm seeing a lot of people talk about different markets like Gatineau. So that's really incredible. Next question here is, why, Griffin, are you you, and what makes you you?
Why am I me, and what makes me me? Okay, so right now, I'm a YouTuber now and / investor. So why am I me? Just consistency and following my passion and wanting to do something different than just the status quo. So over the past couple of years, I've pretty much worked my way out of a corporate job into something I'm doing right now. So I would just say consistency and following your goals. You need to set them out and then hit them consistently and do something day in and day out, even if you don't feel like it, to reach those goals. This is kind of one of those questions of like, what's the key to success? But there is no key to success. It's literally just consistency in action and repetition, literally. So that's why I'm me.
Awesome. Appreciate that. And so the first question I'd like to explore with you today, Griffin, is, one, I actually don't know, but are you a millennial or are you younger than a millennial? I don't keep up to date on my terms.
Well, I'm 24, so whatever that puts me in. Would that
All right.
make me a
well,
millennial?
I'll pretend you're a millennial. I don't know if you actually classify. Maybe you're whatever post-millennial is. But right now in the news, it doesn't, you can open any newspaper and you'll find some sort of article lamenting how millennials will never be able to own a house in their lifetime. Sure. And so I thought that would be worthwhile exploring with you. How were you able to take what appears to be a national problem and yet be able to own multiple properties at your age?
Yeah, so I mean, let's just boil it down to the first property because, yeah, it is an issue. I see it also with some peers, even in my circle and stuff. It's difficult to even save up to a down payment. I'm not going to discount the fact that there were multiple factors in my life that definitely helped me out and gave me a head start. Um, Education, like my parents definitely helped me through education. So I was able to transition into a job that, yeah, it was a good job and allowed me to qualify for a mortgage. So what I would say, number one, is you need to, if you're in a really expensive area like Toronto, Vancouver, you should probably consider moving out of that area and also sticking to a job that's actually going to give you some consistent monthly income and cash flow so that you can show it to an employer. A lot of people kind of just discount that simple reality that if your life, both of those, if your life expenses are way too much and you're saving $50 a month, I mean, you're never going to get ahead, A. And then B, if you don't have that consistency, there's no way you're going to be able to qualify for a loan unless like your parents co-sign or whatnot. But so yeah, for getting your first house, those are two things you definitely need to implement. And then just really being adamant on budgeting monthly. It's not pretty or fun or anything, but budgeting and making sure that you're putting aside a couple $100 a month. And it'll quickly add up to what you can do is that you can put 5% down if you're buying your first house. I think most people can wing $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, even if it's a couple years of savings, right? I mean, it's either that or you're not going to actually buy a property. So it's one or the other, right? And if you really want to be a property owner, that's how you need to start saving. And yeah, anyways, I was rambling on a bit, but
No,
yeah,
yeah, I
it's just a
appreciate that.
formula. Like it's do you want to do it? Yes or no? And then those are some key elements to implement.
And then, so talking about your specific situation, Griffin, and I don't actually know this, so I might be wrong, but
Sure.
were you born and raised in Gatineau or in Ottawa or?
No, in Gatineau. Yeah,
Okay.
actually, it's kind of like a running gag in my close family. I'm the only one born in Gatineau. So anyway, it's not a running gag, but it's just because, everyone in my family is from Ontario, Ottawa, but yeah, we live on the Quebec side. And honestly, I'm happy about it. It's so much cheaper.
Do you mind kind of, explaining that? Because I wasn't sure whether you were like born and raised in Ottawa and choose to move to Gatineau because it was lower cost or whether that just happened to be the way it played out. But if you don't mind explaining that, because this holds true not just in Ottawa, right? Every city, every large metro area has a good side of the tracks, a bad side of the tracks, or areas that have preconceived notions, whether they're correct or wrong, right? Like a lot of locals will have these stigmas about certain areas where oftentimes I find out-of-town investors, they're not beholden to the same sort of like rules or like, ooh, don't buy on east of Adelaide here in London, Ontario, right? That's something you would hear a local say every day of the week. But investors are like, oh, I only buy east of Adelaide.
Yeah, exactly. So you're talking the stigma around?
Yeah, Gatineau, Ottawa, like, because it's significant cost savings, right? To choose to live there versus in Ottawa.
Yeah, it's a huge cost savings, at least from my opinion. And back to the question earlier of like a first-time home buyer, if you're from this region, forget it. In Ottawa, it's just so expensive, and you're going to get outbid 99 out of 100 offers that you make. So yes, on the Quebec side, there is the stigma of moving to Quebec, and you got Legault as our premier here, and we have a curfew at 8 p.m. But it's really not that bad. And on the other side of the river, I mean, the community I'm in Elmer, it's super bilingual, English, French, and I do pretty much I'd say 70% of my life's on the Ontario side anyways. I pretty much just sleep here and, film my videos and stuff. That's probably my answer to that question, is that it's not that bad. You just need to try it out. And even if you're investing, you're not living here if you don't want to anyways. So why not get properties that you have potentially a larger equity spread on your renovations and stuff. So that's what I would say to that.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. And for you, Griffin, you're coming from a place where you started investing quite young. And what really motivated you to get into that and make that decision to pursue that pathway?
Yeah, like, to be honest, it sounds maybe materialistic, but I just really wanted to be somewhat wealthy, if I'm being honest here. And I think it's something in our society, it's kind of taboo to talk about. That's why I'm kind of stepping on eggshells here, but I don't think it's wrong, to want to be wealthy and be well off and be able to make my own decisions whenever I want. It's something that kind of my whole life, talking with, family and friends. Yeah, it's something that was kind of not really brought up that much. And I wouldn't say frowned upon is the right word, not at all, but it's not something that we would freely talk about. Like, how are we going to, what are our next business moves going to be and all that. So yeah, that's really why I wanted to basically start investing young, because it was kind of one of those things. What am I going to do? To get wealthy, you're either going to start a business, which is the fastest way for sure. But then also investing in multiple different asset classes is something that's helped me now. And it's something that I just started getting really interested in probably at the age of 18 when I was in university. And it was like, okay, what am I going to do in my 20s so that when I'm in my 30s, I'm not at a job that I hate? So it just became like an obsession of mine to find some business model that worked for me along with investing. Because the thing is, if you're starting to invest with only like a couple hundred or a couple thousand, it's great. You're going to get into the mental state of investing, but you need to have that cash flow that you can throw into the investments for the actual dollar returns to be worthwhile and for your compounding to be a lot quicker. So it was kind of I'm going to be working on my day job all day. So that's paying my expenses. Then at night, I'm working 24/7 on my business. So I have enough cash I can throw into my investments at a much quicker pace than the typical $500 a month recommendation of financial advisors. So that's really, that's why I wanted to be wealthy, essentially. Yeah. And that's something we talked about last time, actually, Matt, on our live stream. Same thing for you there. It's just, what am I going to do to be wealthy? And you kind of just figure it out along the way, right? So.
And so for people that maybe aren't familiar with your backstory, do you mind laying out a basic roadmap? Like, when did you went to university? When did you start investing in stocks? When did you buy the first rental property?
Sure. Yeah. So I went to university. When did I go to university? I graduated high school in 2013. So I guess it was like 2015, because I did 1 year of CEGEP, which in Quebec is this weird transitional thing. Absolutely hated it. Only did 1 year and went directly to U Ottawa. So that was a 4-year program. And then I started investing in stocks during my program. So I was probably 18, 19. And just, got really interested in it, really like just trying to self-educate as much as possible, read as many books, watch videos. And then from there, it was like, okay, well, with stocks, I'm not going to start going heavy on margin just coming out of university. So how can I leverage out my money? And then it was like, okay, then I started discovering real estate. And I purchased my first property less than 2 years ago, actually now, which it seems like so much longer ago. But yeah, it was in mid 2019, I think.
And then when did YouTube come into the mix for you?
Yeah, YouTube's pretty crazy. So I actually started my channel in 2011 with this really completely different like video that basically went viral. And then years later, I discovered that it went viral. And kind of my entire life, I've really been into videography. So this is actually the perfect gig, what I'm doing now, making videos about real estate and stock market investing, because I was that kid like at the skate park with a video camera, making videos and clips for my friends and all that. And that kind of transitioned after into, okay, well, I'm going to start actually making content about real estate investing. And kind of actually it started as personal finance about 3 years ago. But yeah, it was about 3 years ago, and posting consistently for 3 years is where I'm at now. And yeah, it takes time. Honestly, building momentum is difficult with a YouTube channel. I'm sure you can attest to that, Matt. But I love it, honestly.
And did you have a vision from day one that allowed you to keep going? Because I find a lot of people, it's very easy to have high energy going into the idea of creating a YouTube channel. Even
Absolutely.
it's easy to keep that for a week or two after you launch your channel. Once you've milked all your friends and family for subs, though, a lot of people really lose momentum, right? And so I see so many people that they get their first 50 or 200 or 500 subs and then eventually just give up and disappear. So is there something that you associate with yourself that allowed you to break through that wall that a lot of other content creators hit? And if so, please do share it.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's so simplistic, okay? It literally just comes down to the fact, okay, when I started the channel, I am not even joking, I would get 15 to 100 views max every video for about a year, right? That is not motivating. That is borderline embarrassing, to be honest. Not embarrassing, but like just, it was tough, right? I'm putting myself out there. I'm making, I'm making content about personal finance. And for a long time, people, it wasn't catching on, but it was just, I knew it was going to work. I knew it. Like I remember being one time at one of my friend's house in Montreal, and we're having dinner, and they were just like, why are you doing this? And I was just like, guys, I'm telling you, people are going to watch my stuff. It's going to work out. Like, just believe in yourself. Make content of value. That's one thing too. You need to not think of it from a personal standpoint. Yes, YouTube is very much something you can turn into a business, but just think of it as, is this video providing value? If it's not, don't even bother making it. And value can be in multiple different ways too, right? Like for me, it's concrete value in terms of analyzing stocks, analyzing real estate, whatever. Other creators who are making prank videos, that is also value in a sense to the customer being the viewer, right? So as long as it's something that's engaging with a niche that is large enough to actually sustain growth and have consistent views, I would say go for it. It's just a matter of time before it takes off. But don't expect it to take off in less than a year. Literally, like, don't expect that you're going to be one of those people that it just blows up out of the blue. That's never happened for me. I've literally never had a viral video. It's just been consistency in action and compounding of my efforts.
That's awesome.
And if I could, I'm just going to ask one more follow-up question, just because I think it's important for any aspiring content creators. Yep. Did you give yourself like a deadline, a goal? Was there a chance that you were going to stop doing it? Or did you like change your identity and you're like, I'm a YouTuber now, and this is just part of what I do as part of being Griffin Milks?
So the switch probably happened about a year ago now. So while I've been doing YouTube consistently for about 3.5 years now. But until about a year ago, I was still doing multiple other businesses on the side. One of them being very, very time intensive. And it was a full-time job as well. And I kind of realized, right, I was just spreading myself out way too thin. I had a full-time job. I had basically a full-time other business, and I was trying to crank out YouTube videos. And interestingly, I just looked at the data, right? And I was like, okay, I'm doing a half-assed job on my YouTube channel, to be honest. That's kind of how it was at that time. And it was still gaining traction versus I'm putting a full-time effort into this other venture that it's not working out after a year. And then I cut ties with that other venture and I just went all in YouTube. And it's interesting. I made a video a couple months back, I think now, where I literally showed like on a graph. It was incredible. Like the month I went full time and told myself I'm a YouTuber, it just took off. It literally took off in terms of viewership and in terms of income as a result as well. So.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. One follow-up question that I have for you there, Griffin, is obviously a lot of people will see the results and they'll see how many subs you have, how many likes you have on your videos now, because you've built that over time. Could you share a little bit more about what effort goes in on your end as a full-time YouTuber in order to actually produce those videos? Because there's obviously a lot on the back end with editing and preparation and actual content creation and adding value. So can you tell us a little bit more about what's gone in on your end as that below the iceberg kind of reveal of what it's really taken to get to that point?
Yeah, for sure. So a video is pretty much a 1, 2, 3, probably like a 4-step process is my process for making a video. So first of all, I come up with a concept, then I write it out. So for me, it's nothing I can do just off the whim, really, like, some prank video or whatnot. It's really well thought out. So I usually write out a full script. That takes me a couple hours to do. And then I'll record it. Now I'm a lot better, but at the beginning, no joke, it would take me 2-3 hours sometimes to film a video, which is insane, but it's a learning curve and a learning process as well. Now I can film a full video probably in about 30-40 minutes, depending. And then after that, it's editing. So up until now, I've pretty much done A to Z, everything myself. I have brought on a video editor, but not for every video, but that is something that maybe as you're scaling up, you will want to bring on so you can focus more on creating the next video. But yeah, so it goes from initial concept, writing out a script, filming it, editing it, and then you need to make your thumbnail and basically the description, the tags and all that. It's a pretty lengthy process, honestly. Multiple hours per video goes into it, but you know, it's worth it. The platform, like literally anyone can create a platform now, which is really impressive. And it's something that we didn't have access to years ago, like past generations. So I think it's something everyone should utilize, regardless of if you literally are starting from scratch, or even if you already have a business, you can make a side business being a YouTube channel. So many professionals do this now too. Chiropractors, I was going to say lumberjacks. I don't know how many lumberjacks there are, but woodworkers, whatever, right? Turn on the camera and make it a second business. So, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely believe that idea of becoming a niche content provider, becoming an expert in whatever niche it is, and it can go super niche. A friend of mine has a startup that I've been trying to coach him for a while now. And like, they're doing well, so they don't need my advice. But it's a niche software product designed for printing companies to be able to use. So like B2B, and I'm like, dude, start a podcast. I was like, how many other podcasts are there going to be designed for printing company owners, right? Or the technology lead in these companies and stuff like that. And it's so powerful. And yet I think so many people are overlooking it. But at the same time, I feel like it's a very human trait to just overlook the easy thing sometimes and struggle against the hard thing. And so that's something you kind of mentioned, Griffin, where, you know, hey, I'm getting some momentum with YouTube, but realistically, mentally, I kind of feel like I'm half-assing it. And, you know, there's these other things that I'm trying to full ass and they're not getting any momentum either. And it's something that I've noticed with myself all the time, where like, oftentimes I will literally struggle against the harder business or the harder opportunity because I almost take for granted the easier one. And so like, I don't think it's unique to you or me or unique to anyone really, this idea of like, oh, like this thing's going well, so I'm going to leave it alone. Let me go work on this hard thing, or let me go try and do this thing that's not working well, rather than taking a step back and actually analyzing the situation and being like, what is actually going to get me long-term towards the goal I want, right? What's going to really move the needles for me as an individual? I guess any thoughts or insights for, you know, any listeners right now that maybe they've got a couple side hustles? Because I think a lot of people, when you first start the side hustle thing, it's common to get a few, right?
You're all over the place.
Yeah, I'll dabble with FBA. Maybe I'll do some Shopify. Maybe I'll start a personal brand. I'm also going to become an influencer. So any thoughts on how to narrow the field of options?
So first of all, I would say it's not necessarily a bad thing to try a bunch of things out, because maybe one will stick, right? And maybe you'll like one over the other. So like you just said, yeah, I was subject to this as well. When I started out, I was kind of all over the place, trying a bunch of different things out, fresh entrepreneur essentially. But I think you really need to, each venture you're trying, first of all, I would say do them separately. Don't try to do them all at the same time. Do them separately, especially when you're first starting out. Once you have something successful, like it's easy to look at, like Mark Wahlberg. Okay, he just launched this new show on HBO Max where he's talking about all his businesses, and he has like 10 businesses. Okay, it's easy as a newbie entrepreneur to look at that and be like, oh my god, I need to be all over the place. But what a lot of people fail to realize is that he started one thing first, being his acting career, and once he was already rock solid and a star, then he diversified out. So that's what I think you need to really do, right? That's what I'm trying to do, at least. I'm trying now. I realize I'm spread way too thin, and I'm kind of not getting results in anything. So let me go all in on one. Hey, it actually has worked out for me. I'm very grateful about that, and even lucky, I could say. But now I'm trying to spread out into other venues and try other things. I'm not letting go. Letting go of the gas on that main business. But yeah, just start off with one and try it for a minimum of 6 months. Like, don't just abandon it because you get no traction at the beginning. Another thing I'd like to mention about that too is, in every business, you're going to have ups and downs and stuff, right? Like right now I have 80,000 subs. it's going up now by like 50 subs a day. That's not that motivating, right? A couple months ago, it was going up 300-400 a day. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. There's going to be ups and downs. And as much as if you just continue focusing on the audience and providing value, I think it's going to work out in the end. You need to pivot as you go along, of course. But yeah, don't just abandon something because it's temporarily seeing a dip or anything, is what I would say.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I really appreciate the way that you highlighted that building of your foundation before you actually diversify. And that same sort of concept can really dive into any business or investment that you're doing. So for you, now that you've built that foundation out with YouTube, what are the next steps for you? What are the areas that you're really looking to build and diversify out to now that you have that platform?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm definitely going to continue making YouTube videos for sure. But outside of that, I'm really trying to scale up my real estate business. So I want to do much larger deals that have a lot more equity value add to them. So that's going to take a lot of my time. And, I'm at this point now where I'm trying to do some other calculated decisions. Like, for example, I'm doing, not that this is a huge project, but like I'm doing something with Matt once a week now. I'm also launching a new podcast with my girlfriend. I'm just trying out some different content. I know I'm good at content, so I'm trying to dabble in some different things related to content, honestly. At this point, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say going with the flow. That's definitely not it, but I'm just trying to settle into my business right now. And it has only been about 6 months that I'm full-time, and I'm taking the time to really look at what my next moves are going to be, but I don't have a definite answer for that right now.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned Gatineau at the beginning there and wanting to invest even more in that space. So what types of investments are available that you're really seeking out in Gatineau?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeking out mostly smaller multifamily homes, basically duplexes, triplexes, potentially fourplexes as well, just because they require less capital to purchase right now as I'm building it up. And then I can put less into it to essentially renovate them and raise the rents. So those are pretty much the properties I'm targeting right now. And they're a lot easier to offload as well than like a 25 unit building. So eventually I'm sure I'll scale up to that and dabble in larger properties. But for right now, that's pretty much what I'm doing in that space. Yeah.
Awesome. So obviously content, stocks and real estate are kind of three of your main hustles, the three main focuses right now. We always love to explore with our guests. Are there any opportunities right now that you're simply too busy? Right? Are there any problems right now that you're just too busy to go and solve and turn into a profit center that you'd maybe like to highlight or discuss on this call for any of the listeners that are maybe thinking, I'm not really sure what to jump into. I don't see any opportunities. Is there anything you currently see there, Griffin?
You mean in general? Like, are there any opportunities?
Yeah.
Opportunities. I think there's always going to be, the thing is there's always opportunities, right? Like right now, especially with the whole crypto market and offline, we're talking NFTs, Matt, and stuff. Like there's always going to be that next thing. So I really think that for the average listener, you should just double down right now in a period of uncertainty on your main income source is what I would say. Because at the end of the day, that's most likely going to be your best return on investment. If you're able to go from $50,000 to a year to $75K by adding a new skill set and doing something on the side, or it's hard for me to give a blanket statement like that because the largest return on investment is going to be through a business for sure. Like it will be more than any return on paper assets or real estate assets. So yeah, I would just say more than ever, you need to hone certain skills that you can differentiate yourself from the masses and go all in on that. That's really what I would say. And that's based from my experience. That has been the largest return on investment for myself as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that, Griffin. And definitely, I see unlimited potential in the crypto NFT space. I think you could throw a dart and hit an opportunity. I also think you could throw a dart and hit a scam. So it's really important that people go into it eyes wide open. But I think, like almost any endeavor, it first starts with the research, right? The prep, just getting yourself familiarized with what's going on in that ecosystem. And 100%. Right now, a lot of people, if we're using crypto as a specific example, a lot of people right now are trying to chase returns in crypto, right? So they want to try and get a better return than what everyone else got on their Dogecoin or on their ETH or their Bitcoin or whatever the case may be. And yet, I think a more consistent approach for some would be going the business angle, right? Or going the influencer creative content angle. There's so many different opportunities whenever these new ecosystems, environments, or markets open up. And I think, there's a lot of people that just are lemmings that are just chasing each other, right? Rather than actually taking a step back and trying to really gain some perspective and insight into what fits into my long-term plans, what's going to fit for me and my intentions or the goals I've set for myself.
Absolutely. And then also the thing is, even if, so I'm sure there is multiple people who have become millionaires from, Dogecoin, etc. But the thing is, the average individual who's only throwing $500 that they don't have to invest anyways or gamble with, even if you did strike it big, the thing is, it's the consistency in replicating that return that's the issue. So it's a larger issue at hand of understanding the fundamentals of the foundation of your whole financial life. So just replicating a Dogecoin return every month is probably going to be impossible, versus if you focus on creating a business that's adding you an extra 20, 30K a year, and you just take that money, for example, and invest it over time, it's probably going to be a much larger return, and you'll be able to have more. It'll be less risky to take that risk essentially with later on down the line the next opportunity that's like a Dogecoin. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's just that there's so many new investors that have come into the market this year and last and are just chasing quick returns, that even if you get really good returns on one or two positions, it's that broader picture of understanding the mindset of maintaining that wealth as well and replicating it over and over again. I think people really underestimate the power of 10 to 20% returns year over year compounded. Really. And I'm not trying to sound like Dave Ramsey here. I'm pretty young and I'm talking about compound interest, but it's just, it's really powerful, honestly, especially if you're able to create a couple $100K a year in business income, which is so doable to anyone who's watching this with a content creation business. It is so doable, seriously. And then you take larger chunks of money and start investing them. You're starting at year 30 of compounding versus year 1. So you'll have so much more momentum right out the gate.
Awesome. Yeah, love it. And for anyone that's interested in learning more about creating a content business, exploring the ideas of building out your own niche content business, I'd recommend Kevin Kelly's essay, 1,000 True Fans. I think that's a great starting point for anyone that happens to be listening to this podcast and wants to dive a bit deeper, because I think there's a market out there to become the #1 underwater welding podcast, right?
Yeah,
every
totally.
single niche, every single job, every single industry has this opportunity. And it's just a matter of time. But like Griffin was mentioning at the start of the podcast, you really do need to lay claim to whatever your stake is. And I think that if you can really internalize, I'm a YouTuber now, it's not just about getting the views, it's about this is part of me, right? The creative process, providing content, creating value for individuals. All that is so key to having the stamina to do the consistent actions that you were talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah, I just have a follow-up question there too for you, Griffin. And in terms of that trajectory, and it's clear that you've been so consistent in your efforts building up to this point. Is there any sort of problem that you ran into that you decided just to completely swerve away from, maybe an investment that didn't work out that you were playing around with at the beginning, and that ultimately turned into a challenge that you transitioned away from?
Okay, so that I transitioned away from. I mean, in investing in business, every single day I'm presented with challenges, and trying to think of ones that I've turned away from. I mean, turned away from all the time. There's little things here and there in my daily day-to-day business that I turn down business offers pretty much every single day. Challenges as well, let's say with tenants all the time. I've had a bunch of problems. I just think you need to be ready. If you do want to be an investor and an entrepreneur, you need to be ready to just take those problems head first. And like, even if they suck, you just need to move through it. Not sure I answered your question, to be honest, but
yeah, that definitely answers it. Like there's I'd say a lot of opportunities for a business owner to get shiny object syndrome and just absolutely pursue down those sort of distractions or pathways that come up, whether it be an opportunity to start another business or an opportunity to pursue a certain type of investment. So it's definitely easy to take that pathway when it comes. So I'm always curious if there was anything like that you wanted to pursue and realized that ended up being a distraction and that just pushed you harder towards that core business model that you had.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been offered tons of business ventures opportunities, and there have been a couple. Yeah, I've been in actual like meeting rooms with people who are literally trying to, I wouldn't say screw me, but yeah, like they're trying to, take advantage of the opportunity. But you just need to ask yourself, like, is this going to serve my greater purpose and my greater investment plan, right? If you don't have any sort of plan or game plan or understand like what you're trying to accomplish here, then of course you're going to fall victim to any sort of bad business venture that comes your way. So I literally take probably once or twice a month, I'll drink a coffee in the morning and I'll spend about an hour to 2 hours reassessing what my plan is. And even if it's the same as the 2 weeks prior or the month prior, it doesn't really matter. I'm just like reinforcing it in my mind, and I'm looking at the larger goals that I have, and I just look at, okay, am I accomplishing it? Yes and no. What am I going to do next? And then I kind of just always think back to that, right? With the next venture, is this serving my greater purpose and my greater investment plan? If it's not, I try to stay clear from it, usually.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Griffin, and appreciate you taking the time to jump on the podcast, Problems or Profit. So if people want to follow along with you on your journey, where's the best way and places to do so?
Sure. Yeah. You can follow me on the main platforms are YouTube for sure and Instagram, both at Griffin Milks. Just my name. You'll find me there.
Thanks, Griffin.
Problems are what? Problems are profits!